My name's Tom Purley, and this is my presentation for my final paper. I chose to analyze Orientation by Daniel Orozco, and basically my thesis was that the story is an allegory of modern American culture, and the allegory is as follows. The office as a whole represents America, while the employees represent the American citizens, and the narrator is an unbiased observer who hasn't had the same socialization, who doesn't really know the culture like an American does. The first point I'm going to bring up where I think Orozco begins the allegory is when he talks about John LaFontaine going into the women's restroom, and I think that here he's using sarcasm to demonstrate what our culture considers to be socially acceptable, as far as behaviors and what's acceptable to talk about with each other, because neither of these things would be considered socially acceptable. The behavior itself, John going into the woman's bathroom, or this trainer of a new job bringing this up in casual conversation, I think he's trying to show us the ins and outs of our social interactions there. Next, he explores, this is also related to that, he explores American individualism and our personal boundaries. And with that last quote, he's illustrating the extreme, our desire to have our personal lives be very secret and kept to ourselves, not a part of the group. And after reading an article, I determined that this kind of thinking came from, or at least started in, the Enlightenment, this belief that individual freedoms should be more greatly emphasized than the well-being of the group as a whole. And I have a quote here from an article. Individualism, the belief that the good society is one in which individuals are let free to pursue their private satisfactions independently of others, a pattern of thinking that emphasizes individual achievement and self-fulfillment. And so that's kind of the center of what America is all about, letting people have individual freedoms, and with that emphasis on the individual as opposed to previous cultures' emphasis on the group, it creates a strong divide between the personal, what people are willing to share, and what people are willing to share. It creates a sort of secretive feel to the whole thing, and that's kind of demonstrated in the last quote from the story that I read. Next, he explores lust and gluttony, and for that he uses the story about Russell Nash. He puts on 40 pounds and grows fatter with each passing month, and he spends his time watching adult videos and eating ice cream and cold pizza. And I think that's one of the main, when people think about America, they think about our gluttony and how we eat and use too much in excess, and I feel like he does a good job illustrating that here. Next I go on to talk about greed and obsession with material goods. And the story, Orozco uses, I'm gonna mispronounce this name, but Larry Bagdakian. He's talking about the insurance policies, and if his family were attacked or killed, he says that Larry wouldn't have to pay one dime. He would have nothing to worry about. Even though obviously that's ridiculous because his family had just been killed. But I think this one is a little bit more hyperbole. It uses that a little bit more than the other examples. But while reading this, I made a connection between an incident a few years ago where a Walmart employee was trampled during Black Friday, and it's kind of a loose connection, I guess, but it's just demonstrating the extreme obsession that we have with material goods, over personal connections, over a lot of things, and I think that's something that's prevalent in modern American culture. And that concludes my presentation.